iceberg theory trend is a trend that I've been meaning to jump on for a while now. I have several theories I want to cover on this channel, one of them being this: Red Dead Redemption 2. I found it on a Reddit by the user Joe282. This was posted on the Red Dead Mysteries subreddit. I like making the iceberg videos and I love Red Dead Redemption 2, so I thought this would be a perfect fit for my channel. I'm just hoping it does well. I actually had to figure out what the iceberg theory actually is, and that's sort of the reason why I haven't done too many of them, but from what I could find, it's essentially just going from the most known things all the way down to the lesser known things. So this should be pretty interesting. I tried finding other YouTube videos explaining the Red Dead Redemption 2 iceberg, but the only one I could find was in Spanish. Yes, I'm being serious. And before I start, I wanted to give you guys a quick disclaimer that this video will be very long and I won't be using too many quick edits to keep you at full attention all the way. So I recommend you get comfy and get yourself a nice hot beverage. But without further ado, let's get right into the video. So to start off an iceberg, we of course have to start with what's above the water, the tip of the iceberg. I'll try to explain it as we go along for those of you who want to know and want to make your own icebergs in the future. We're going to start this video off with what many players Red Dead Redemption 2 struggled to find, and that is of course the third meteorite that was a hidden mystery in the game. Players had already found 2 other meteorites around the map, so there was a rumor going around the community that there was in fact a third and final hidden one somewhere. The meteorite was so well hidden that players began thinking there was some kind of hoax or it was just a setup to keep the playtime up. This was until Rockstar Games themselves stated that there was in fact a third meteorite somewhere. Tracking down the third meteorite has used up a lot of manpower with little to show for it, so some players even started checking the exotic guarma for this mysterious rock. Players kept searching and searching, seemingly to no avail. That was until a few months ago when a YouTuber claimed to have found the third meteorite in this video, which I will link in the white bar at the top of the screen right now.
Huge thanks to Giamatti for recording this footage for us. So he did this on PC where you can actually spawn certain items within the game. So in other words, you can spawn a character, you can spawn whatever you want. And he managed to find the meteorite trinket, which you can barely see on the screen. It's right at Arthur right there. You see he's walking up towards it. You'll get a better look in a moment. So he's going to zoom in. Wait till you see this thing up close. Giamatti, what is the size of this thing? It looks actually kind of small. I can't really tell too well.
Well, yeah, it looked kind of small compared to a human, but compared to a little animal, maybe it can be the same size than maybe a squirrel or something.
Yeah, I noticed when we picked up the other meteorite, it was fairly big. So perhaps this is a clue that, this one's pretty small.
From what I have seen, this seems to be very legit, but if not, this is just another one of Rockstar's unsolved mysteries. Next up, we have something that's a little bit creepier. I of course am talking about the cemetery ghost in the Saint Denis cemetery. This occurs in a late night mission where you go kill some grave robbers for Mr. Angelo Bronte. It is during this when the player encounters the ghost of Saint Denis cemetery. Upon entering the cemetery, players will find an old woman dressed in black sprint out into the fog. Players who have completed this mission before may be expecting her, and a fast enough player can even hogtie her. But if you shoot her with a bullet, it will just go straight through. If you are too slow and she runs away like she seemingly always does, then she simply disappears. There are also a few other times when the player could find the woman running and disappearing between tombstones, and it is certainly one of the creepiest things that occurs in a main mission in Red Dead Redemption 2. The next thing on the agenda is the glitch where you can get Arthur to New Austin. If you are unaware what New Austin is, it's essentially one of the 2 American states in the original Red Dead Redemption game. It is also known as the frontier, or the last place where a cowboy or an outlaw can live. In Red Dead Redemption 2 it is one of the 5 states. Unfortunately, New Austin cannot be explored on your own in the prequel, which is exactly why you have to use glitches to get Arthur there. During research, I found this Reddit user who managed to glitch Arthur through to New Austin during an Angelo Bronte mission in Chapter 4. It's funny because all you have to do is get drunk and go into a cave and then it works. This is a cool hidden glitch and I would recommend you try if you haven't already. One of the biggest mysteries in Red Dead Redemption 2 that went unsolved for years was that of a missing princess. I am of course talking about the peculiar disappearance of Princess... I don't know how to say that. For the purpose of this video, I'll just be calling her Princess IKZ because that seems a lot easier. Upon reaching Van Horn, players will encounter a poster that breaks down the appearance of the princess with a reward set at $100. Shortly after, players will discover that at the age of 5, the princess disappeared from a cabin that she's staying in and has been missing for over 15 years. Upon embarking on the investigation, players will discover some pieces of the evidence near a shop at Van Horn that includes a suitcase stamped with the Royal Seal of Luxembourg. Apart from this, players won't be able to find any other leads regarding the mysterious disappearance of the princess. Is she dead? Did she start a new life? Is she even the ghost in the cemetery? Who knows? The channel catfish is one of the most popular fish species which you can catch in Red Dead Redemption 2. They lurk deep in muddy waters, in between aquatic plants. They are particularly large and love swamp baits. In the Rio Bravo border region there are some folk stories of the elusive legendary channel catfish, but unfortunately there are no official records of such creature, leading many to wonder if it even exists. It has been reported that the fishermen have tried to catch it for years but to no success. It was rumored that the colossal monster of a fish can get to over 90 inches and weigh over 180 pounds, meaning that if you do ever get the chance to catch this fish, it will definitely be legendary. The Strange Man is a minor character and a stranger featured in Red Dead Redemption, and also has a cameo in Red Dead Redemption 2. There is an abandoned shack in Bale Edge in Lemoyne that seems to belong to a strange man. The shack is riddled with cryptic writing alluding to Armadillo, Herbert Moon, and the cholera outbreak of New Austin. If the player visits the shack as Arthur Morgan, there will be an unfinished painting of the strange man. If the player visits the shack as John Marston, the painting will gradually become more and more complete over the next few days, and John will document his thoughts of his journal, saying how it makes him feel fascinating, awful, and seductive all at once. Once the painting is complete, John can see the strange man stalking him in the mirror, but as soon as John turns around, the man disappears. A stranger in New Austin, around Hennigan's stead, alludes to the man wearing a black suit and a big top hat, whom he believes to be the Grim Reaper, who haunts and curses the town of Armadillo, being the reason of the cholera epidemic. Very creepy. Madame Nazar is a massive character in Red Dead Online. The mystic traveling saleswoman is a collector and seller of various rare and valuable items. What makes her interesting is the similarities to the fortune-telling arcade machine in GTA 5. You can trigger and hear her fortunes for $1 each. It is a minigame-like feature that was added to the new Casino Heist update. The visual appearance as well as the name are similar, and it would hint at Rockstar are trying to build a correlation between the world of Red Dead and Grand Theft Auto. Just before RDR2 was released, one of the developers announced that there was over 5 hours of cut content. This cut content could include a lot of things. All these things would have made the game a lot different, including a second love interest storyline for Arthur. The developer stated simply that the second love interest just doesn't work, so they decided to scrap it completely. Even though there are over 100 hours of game time in total, there could have been more. It's quite interesting to think how different the game would have been had they stuck to their original plans. Underwater is essentially the part where we look a bit deeper into the game, looking at some of the lesser known things, but not the least known. The green eyes are a very creepy thing that can be found on several corpses littered across the map. At first people thought that there would be a DLC release similar to the old Red Dead Nightmare game. The corpses are very recognizable and seem not to rot like any other corpses in the game. And of course their bright green eyes are very noticeable and almost ominous, which could lead me to believe that these people are not fully dead, maybe even not natural human beings. Is it possible that there could be zombies released to the world of Red Dead Redemption 2? I have no idea, but one thing I do know is that would be awesome. Hosea Matthews is an integral part of the Vanderlyn gang's success. He's the brains of the operation, and Dutch probably wouldn't have gotten as far if it wasn't for him. As we all know, Hosea was killed by Agent Milton. But what the weird thing is that Hosea actually had an illness that not too many people knew about. When in and around the camp you can even hear Hosea wheezing and coughing at times throughout the story. He does this so frequently that other characters and even he comments about it occasionally. It was unclear exactly what the illness was, but some fans came to the conclusion that it might be some sort of lung cancer or even asthma. This could be even more possible considering every character in the game smokes more than a chimney. The original Red Dead Redemption game drops several hints that Jack may not be the real son of John Marston. Both games in the Red Dead franchise plant a series of doubts throughout smart moments in the dialogue as well as important details about the character's backstory. However, what the games did not provide is a concrete answer to Jack's parental lineage. Several times over the course of RDR2, it is mentioned that John left the gang for over a year because he didn't want to believe that Jack was actually his son. This is believable given the fact that the players were first introduced to his wife Abigail in the first game and she was working as a prostitute. She joined the gang in 1894 and then gave birth to Jack in 1895. During her initial few months with the Vanderlyns, she had sexual relationships with several gang members. Since this was around the time she fell pregnant, it means anyone could technically be Jack's biological father. Dutch pretty much confirms this in the first game where he says, "We all had her, but he married her." This implies that Abigail likely had relations with Dutch and even other gang members such as Javier Escuela, Bill Williamson, and even Arthur Morgan possibly. There's even more possibility to this in Red Dead Redemption 2 when Arthur subtly hints that John may not be the real father. He says the following: "You don't look much like a Marston, maybe a Williamson or an Escuela." He says that to the boy even though Jack doesn't seem to understand the meaning behind it. Some theories have also popped up suggesting that Jack looks similar to several other gang members in his adult years, particularly Javier. Even though this is only speculation, this could be a reminder for everyone watching this video to wear a condom and not marry whores. Out of bounds areas have always been an interesting thing in Rockstar games. I'm sure we've all at some point taken a jet ski or a jet and flown over the ocean in GTA 5 until eventually the engine stalls and I have to swim all the way back. Unlike in GTA where it's just ocean waters as far as the eye can see, in Red Dead Redemption there's beautiful scenery and even untouched wildlife. In Red Dead Online, if you go to a certain bridge, it can actually catapult you across the in-game map, and potentially even out of bounds areas. Players who use this bridge glitch can even make it all the way to Mexico. This was rather cool to see for classic Red Dead Redemption gamers who played the original game as it was set there. But that of course was before Trump built his wall. Ned Luke played a huge role in the childhood of many, voicing the infamous Michael character from GTA 5. His voice becomes automatically recognizable for everyone who's played these games, so recognizable that players even found a side character who's voiced by him. Ned himself hinted that he might be working in the game, but in the end it just turned into a giant Easter egg hunt, which they eventually found. So if you see a video titled Michael from GTA 5 in Red Dead Redemption 2, just remember that it's actually real, even though they're all 10 minutes and have very weird thumbnails. In the surface part of the video I stated that there was over 5 hours of cut content in the game, including a second love interest for Arthur Morgan. As we all know, he does have a love interest in the game, who he snubs over in order to stay with the gang. What people wanted to know though is who the second love interest was supposed to be for Arthur. From what I could find online, people have been hinting at the fact that Sadie Adler could in fact be the other lady. We knew her straight off the bat in the game, and Arthur and Sadie do seem to have a good connection together, which we can find out by the few missions that they do together. Sadie was also found to be a widow, so that somewhat helps the cause for a new girlfriend. This could theoretically make sense, as in a mission Arthur rejects running away with Mary because he says he's a wanted man living the life of an outlaw, so it would only make sense for Arthur to then have a love story with Sadie, who is living the same life as he is. It would have been very interesting to see how this would have turned out, just a shame Rockstar threw it in the bin. Okay. After looking at that, we can now go even deeper and even further until we eventually hit the abyss. By the way, this is your halfway checkpoint. If you haven't already, grab something to drink and eat, and maybe pop open some cocaine chewing gum. If you've actually made it this far, I would just like to say a quick thanks. I am very aware that this video is a lot longer than the other videos I've made in the past, so hey, smash like. Now let's get on with the video. Arthur Morgan, as I'm sure many of you are aware, didn't have the greatest of lives. And this became all the more true when we learned of his son's death. The story of his son explains a lot about Red Dead Redemption 2's main character, including why Arthur only dived into the life of an outlaw closer to the end of his life. It also would explain why the cowboy could appear to be so cold and distant at times, but still have a hint of humanity that encourages him to do the right thing at the end of the day, especially when women and children are involved. Arthur goes into detail about his son and his mother during a conversation with Rains Falls in chapter 6 of the game. The horse ride where the conversation takes place is completely optional, and if the player does choose to skip the scene, then they miss the entire story about Arthur's family. During this ride, we can even see Arthur become uncharacteristically sentimental about his past. It is also mentioned that the boy was only 10 years old when he passed. The scene is honestly heartbreaking, but at least we know what happened to Arthur's family. In RDR2, as we all know, there is a rat, literally and figuratively. The question that has been asked many times by Red Dead fans, myself included, is if there was another rat in the gang. The original rat was of course Micah, which we learned as playing along. I found another Reddit post asking the same question: who was the second rat? This lovely fellow came to the conclusion that the second rat might be Molly. He says, "I'm currently on my second playthrough and I've just started chapter 6. Molly O'Shea just got killed and I know Micah is the traitor because Agent Milton tells you that he captured her returning from Guarma at the end of the chapter." Here's the cutscene I saw where she says this.
Took her home.
Oh,
You and Micah find anything?
maybe. I think maybe. I found our old friend, Mr. Cornwall.
You did?
Yeah, he's buying a stake in the mine in Iceberg.
Relentlessly ambitious fella, isn't he?
Mike and I'll sniff about, see if he knows we're here, and exactly what his plans are.
So, Dutch, you miss me?
I found her drunk in Saint Denis.
You're back. How jolly, Miss
It's
O'Shea.
funny, you suck of shit.
Back
Who
and
are you?
drunk.
The Master, the Lord
Molly,
God Almighty.
Calm down.
I won't be ignored. Dutch Vanderlyn, I am him. I ain't her. Or any of your stooges.
Calm
You
yourself.
don't know me nothing.
Miss.
I don't know you nothing. Nothing.
Okay.
I'll spit in your eye. I did. I told them.
I'm sorry?
Yeah, I told them and I tell them again. Now I've got God's ear.
You told who what?
Mr. Milton and Mr. Ross about the bank robbery, and I wanted them to kill you.
You did what?
I loved you, you goddamn bastard! Go on, shoot me!
She ain't worth it.
You told on me.
Oh, you're
You
not so
betrayed
big now,
me.
are you?
What?
Just calm down.
Arthur?
She's a fool.
Guido Martelli is a minor character in RDR2 who was at one stage a henchman for bad boss Angelo Bronte. After Bronte's death in 1899, at some point after 1907, Guido became the new crime lord of Saint Denis. Guido briefly appears at the large party that was hosted for the mayor, and we see him standing next to Bronte. He is later mentioned by Charles as being the leader of the city's organized crime, with whom he made a deal with to throw a boxing match. However, Charles bet on himself and does not throw the match. He defeats his opponent and as a result wins a lot of money. Martelli was not too happy about this and proceeded to send men to track down Charles and get the money back. Charles and John gun these men down to make their escape. Charles then says it's imperative that they do not get caught by the police, as there would be no chance of denying any wrongdoing, and that Martelli would ensure that they wouldn't get out of there alive. Martelli is not mentioned after this, even though he seems like a very intriguing character. I personally believe if there was to be a third game, I wouldn't mind if he was the bad guy. Many fans of the game have started to notice something peculiar when it comes to the mission, the glided cage. The thing that they have noticed is that Molly O'Shea, who I spoke about earlier, was originally going to accompany the gang to this mission. Some fans even searched through the game files and found an outfit that she was supposed to wear. The reason that she was cut from this mission is still unclear. Jimmy Brooks is another minor character in RDR2 who seems to have a bit of backstory and a strange aura surrounding him. Earlier in this video I mentioned the Strange Man, and after doing some research I found that it is to believe that the Strange Man is none other than Jimmy Brooks. Jimmy is mentioned in a poem in the Strange Man's shack. Fans also said they found it weird that Jimmy said he knew Arthur just like the Strange Man said he knew John. There were also theories posted stating that the painting of the Strange Man at one point looked like Jimmy Brooks, and that the painting would be signifying Jimmy's transformation into the Strange Man. As we all know, Arthur Morgan dies at the end of Red Dead Redemption 2. But one thing you probably didn't know is that the body of Arthur was supposedly found in an online version of the game. For the purpose of time, I will just show you this clip I found on YouTube. People are still trying to figure out if this is real or fake, but some people came to the conclusion that he just went out drinking with Lenny again, which means he passed out drunk on the floor. This is a much more positive way to think about it. A photo of a loading screen was found where Mary Linton, Arthur, and Bill appear to be in a boat. Some Redditors did research and came to the conclusion that this would be homage to Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. They theorized that the Vanderlyn gang could be based around the Hole in the Wall gang that was led by Butch Cassidy. Butch and the Sundance Kid are tracked across the west by hired gunmen by a railroad magnate that they kept robbing. Eventually they managed to escape to Bolivia with the Sundance Kid bringing his lady friend along for the ride. In the movie their travels are shown in a montage which includes this image. It is very similar to the one at the loading screen. Now we go even deeper, nearing closer and closer to the abyss. We're almost done guys, don't worry. John O'Craig was one of the original voice actors for Red Dead, but unfortunately he passed away while the game was still in production. His voice work was mostly removed by Rockstar and replaced by James McBride, whose voice made it into the final game. Although it is said that one of the actors passed away, his voice wasn't removed entirely, as there are some bits wherein we can hear O'Craig's voice singing in the final game.
Young miss at dancing school is taught the minuet to tread. Young miss at dancing school is taught the minuet to tread. But we go better when we've brought our four-tack to Cathead. Come bustle, bustle, drink about, and let us merry be. Our can is full, we'll pump it out, and then all hands to sea. When horn and hounds the forest rend, his pack the huntsman cheers. When forest rend his pack, the huntsman cheers. As loud as halloo when we send a broadside to Mount Sears. As loud as halloo when we send a broadside to Mount Sears. Come bustle, bustle, drink about, and let us merry be. Our can is full, we'll pump it out, and then all hands to sea. What's got at sea we spend on shore on sweethearts and our wives. What's got at sea we spend on shore at sweethearts and our wives. And then my boys hoist sail for more, thus passes sailors' lives. And then my boys hoist sail for more, thus passes sailors' lives. Come bustle, bustle, drink about, and let us merry be. Our can is full, let's drink it out, and then our hands to sea. Yeah!
I found it to be rather cool that they were still able to use his voice even though he was sadly no longer with us. Red Dead 2's audio files hints at a river monster that was cut from the game. One fan has solved the mystery of the river monster, which arose based on some strange files found in the game. What they discovered hints at some of the strangest content cut during the development of the game. The strange file is named in all caps, River Monster, and the audio in it ranges from bizarre to downright eerie. Some of it sounds like roars mixed with a ship's foghorn blaring, while some of it sounds like the growls of a big cat. Unfortunately, there is no way to tell for sure what the river monster was supposed to look like in the game itself. Players can find a listing for a PED model in the game's files which reads A_C_river_monster_01. However, the model was never created, suggesting while all the hints are there, it was cut from the game in the later stages of development. Kind of sad, because imagine how epic it would be to just see a massive water monster off in the distance. Throughout this video I mentioned that there was a lot of cut content within the game. I'm going to mention some more right now. I'm of course going to talk about none other than the Cave Giants, an unseen minor character and Easter egg in RDR2. Not too much is known about the giant, other than he lives in a cave just east of Fairvale Shanty in the Grizzlies East region of Ambarino, and he is very lonely. The player can encounter the giant and can be heard inside the cave. He will greet the player and the player can even talk to him. Audio files suggest that the giant was supposed to be physically encountered by the player as opposed to being obscured behind a boulder, as it is in the final game. There's even a voice line stating that the giant recently escaped from a local circus. Honor plays a very important part in the ending of the game. There's even a neutral ending embedded in RDR2. From what I could find, neutral honor gives you both coyote and buck visions, but the ending can never be balanced to be completely neutral. You see, the last choice you make will affect your honor. Going with John will give you slightly more positive honor, while going back for the money will leave you with a slightly negative honor. This makes it near impossible to find out what the neutral ending actually is, if there even is one. I do recommend you look this up because there is a lot of speculation if there is it or not, and it's way too much to describe in this video, so yeah. Red Dead Redemption 2 apparently also has a time traveling NPC named Francis Sinclair. He is thought to have a connection to GTA's Epsilon program cult. The player can find him as part of a Stranger side mission, Geology for Beginners. Francis speaks in a transatlantic accent, a real-world affection popularized at least 30 years after the events of RDR2. The Epsilon program is a religious cult introduced in GTA 4 that seems to be a parody of the real-world Church of Scientology. A Reddit user the_monetist pointed out after RDR2's release, all the aspects are reflected in Francis. He has a birthmark over his left eye, just like in the in-universe Epsilon program website's example of a possible alien emperor craft descendant. Francis's red hair indicates that according to the cult's belief, he is not related to other humans, suggesting he could be an alien. This could also explain his apparent supernatural time travel abilities. Additionally, his light blue sweater seems to be a reference to the cult's light blue attire. Okay guys, that's another part done. We have now made into the final 2 parts. The home stretch, if you will. If you've actually made it this far into the video, I just wanted to say a quick thank you again. The show must go on. And it will right now. The beta version of Arthur Morgan is not something that's very comfortable to the average player who's gotten used to the finalized product. The original Arthur looks way more muscular than the predecessor, sporting a much larger body type and tighter clothes. His face looks different too, with the nose and eyes being the main differences. There was even a theory going around that the beta version could have been modeled after the voice actor Roger Clark. There was yet another theory floating around that there is a mysterious gang member who is yet to be found. One Reddit user states the following: I got a mission in chapter 3 to play dominoes with Tilly. Tilly jokes about Karen killing Susan and then brings up the time Dutch killed a gang member for being a traitor. This is an interesting topic to discuss because no one knows who it is. It can't be Jenny because she was injured and died, as we learned in the beginning of the game. It can't be Mac because he was hunted down by Pinkerton. So this is one mystery that has been left unsolved. A name is never given, despite there being multiple hints. Comment down below who you think this missing person could be. Elisa is Arthur Morgan's deceased significant other in the game. She was also the mother to Arthur's son Isaac, who also passed away as I mentioned earlier. Arthur says that she was a young waitress when they met, and what was supposed to be a one-night stand turned into a child. She knew what Arthur did, the likes of robbing and killing for financial gain, so Arthur made a promise to come back and visit for a few days every couple of months. Unfortunately, one of the days when Arthur came back to visit was probably one of the saddest of his life. On that day, Arthur found 2 wooden crosses buried into the ground outside the home, and then he quickly realized that Elisa and Isaac were both dead. Their death came from a robbery, where they were killed for a supposed $10. Another sad twist in the protagonist's story. Davey is another minor deceased character in RDR2. He and his brother Mac joined the gang at some point prior to 1899. He appeared to be an avid drinker and a poker player based on various comments from Arthur and Hosea. Davey was wounded and died after the infamous shootout in Blackwater. There were some theories that Davey Callender was originally planned to have some sort of bigger role, or at least bigger than simply dying in the first couple of scenes in the game. Some fans were even predicting that Davey could be one of the main characters for the potential Red Dead Redemption 3. It will be interesting to see what the future may hold, but don't expect the next game in the franchise to be out for a minimum of 10 years. There's still GTA 6 and of course Bully 2 still supposed to come out this decade, hopefully. We did it, lads. We made it to the final tier of the iceberg. I don't want to waste any more time as I'm aware this video is very long, so I will just get on with it right now. As I mentioned before, Molly O'Shea was shot, but what some of you may not know is that she has a grave in the game. In another attempt to save time, I will simply play the clip and let you see the cutscene and the grave for yourself.
I just need.
You...
She knew the rules, Arthur. What the hell is wrong with you? Mr. Pearson, Mr. Williamson, get this body out of here and get it burnt.
Okay.
Now get back to work, all of you! Quit your lollygagging! Get back to work!
So as you saw there, she was instructed to be burned in the cutscene, but they actually buried her, with the grave being hidden under the map. Spider Madison is an actor who voiced Uncle in the original Red Dead game. Almost all the original cast for the first game came back for the second game except for Madison. This man is a mystery. Almost nothing is known about him except for those other 2 roles and a singular photo. Even his age is a mystery. He seemingly disappeared off the face of the earth. It still remains unclear why he wasn't brought back for the second game to play the same role. Ever since the first game he was just completely gone. There's a rather creepy nature to all of this. This is a man who played the role in some people's childhoods, and now all you can find is a creepy old picture of himself. None of the other voice actors who came back ever seem to mention Spider. I guess this one will have to remain an unsolved mystery. So this is it, we finally made it to the end of the video. If you did make it this far, I just want to say a very big thank you, and thank you to the guy who made the iceberg. All the credit goes to him. Of course I wouldn't have been able to make this video if it wasn't for his research and knowledge. So yeah, big thank you to that guy. You can go check out his Reddit, I guess. Also big credit to all the guys whose clips I used in this video. Of course I will put the links to all those videos in the description or the I bar at the top of the screen. If I don't do that, then make sure to call me out in the comments down below. But until then guys, thank you so much for watching this video, and if you did like it, make sure to smash the like button and hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you next time. Peace.
Out after you're done and hop into my ride and make a quick run. Bitches ain't shit. Man, fuck these bitches. So take the nuts and suck the dick.